Greetings, respected viewers. I am George from Ireland. So I'm standing across the street from where John Archer lived. Unfortunately, maybe from the shade you can't make out the blue plaque. So John Archer is famous for being arguably the first black mayor of any borough in the British Isles. So he's born in Liverpool in 1863. His father was a Bayesian of African stock. His mother was a white Irish woman, so another fantastic thing for Ireland, although we've had plenty Irish mayors of boroughs in Great Britain and of course in Ireland for a very long time. Anyhow, so in his teenage years he became a merchant seaman, and he sailed this wide world settling for a while in what was then known as British North America, and then in the United States. He sailed around the Caribbean in particular, and he finally decided he wanted to live in London. He lived in this borough of Battersea, which is just south of the River Thames, which had been amalgamated into London not long before. Previously been a borough in the county of Surrey, taken out of Surrey, added to Greater London. So he joined the Liberal Party, and even though he left school in his early teens, he was clearly quite an erudite chap, highly eloquent, and of course being a rhetorician of note really mattered in 19th century politics, since there was no telly, there was no radio, and public meetings were well attended, often by a fractious or even raucous crowd, and he had to be able to hold his own in the cut and thrust of debate, put down hecklers and so forth, and he always upbraided people in a courteous manner. So he was extensively reported in the local press. So he married a Canadian woman who was black. I forget her name actually. I'm not aware whether they had children or not. Probably. People almost always did in those days. It wasn't seen as a choice. You're going to get married, you have children. Why wouldn't you? Unless there's some sort of medical reason obviating that. So he joined the Liberal Party, which was rather advanced in his views for the time, in favour of Irish Home Rule. Perhaps not terribly surprising, given he was a Catholic on his mother's side. Practiced as a Catholic all his life. Anti-Catholicism had not disappeared in London by that stage. There were more Catholic churches were being constructed here. There was Irish transmigration to this island. Anyway, he got himself elected to Battersea Borough Council. We would have called him an alderman in those days, as in a councillor. That's someone who's on local government. In the United States, what do they call it? The Board of Supervisors. Perhaps it varies from one city to the next. And eventually, indeed, he was elected mayor of Battersea, but not quite narrowly. And some people try to oppose him on racist grounds. The mayor of the borough is not elected by the people of the borough, it's elected by the councillors. The councillors, roughly 80 of them, got together and decided which one of them would serve as mayor, and the mayor held that office for a year. It was possible to be re-elected and serve many, many years consecutively. The term was a year initially. I believe he only served 1 year, actually. I'm not sure if this take was on the First World War, but the Liberal Party threw itself behind the war effort. Indeed, it was a Liberal government in 1914 that advised His Britannic Majesty to proclaim war on the Central Powers. Anyway, the war was over, and he had been radicalised as so many other people, and he was happy to call himself a socialist at this point. So the Liberal Party, well, had shot its own fox. The idea of progress seemed to be gone. People weren't really getting better. There had been more state control. Some of its goals had been achieved, as in temperance had been largely dealt with by the restrictions on alcohol, and it had to act in a completely illiberal manner in order to stand any chance of winning the war, which was rather a close-run thing. So he joined the Labour Party, and he was elected to the council on that basis. And then he met, I hope I pronounced his name correctly, Shapurji Sakatvala, who was, I think, half Indian, half Swedish, and he was a communist, and he stood for Parliament at Battersea as a communist candidate. Now, Archer didn't join the Communist Party of Great Britain, but he persuaded Labour to throw its weight behind this man and to stand down their candidate. So there wasn't this sharp distinction between the democratic left and the anti-democratic left in those days. Some mainstream Labour Party had more than a little sympathy for the Bolsheviks, despite the fact that the Communist Party in Russia was butchering their confrère, social democrats of all kinds, the socialist revolutionaries, the Mensheviks, the Trudovniki, banning independence trade unions. Think of Kronstadt. socialists saying that only socialists should have political liberty, but that the Bolsheviks ought to release other non-Bolshevik socialists from prison. But the Bolsheviks were having none of it. They're violently intolerant of any deviationism. Anyway, so Archer was very well informed about that situation, but he'd largely retired from politics. I should say that he ran his photographic studio up there. Obviously, cameras are very expensive, and having photos of your family taken was a very pricey thing. You do on special occasions like weddings, or someone after war, you might never see them again. He read medicine for a while, but didn't graduate. So when he was elected, he said it was a fabulous moment. It proved there was no racism in Battersea. Well, I wish that were true, but he had been voted against by almost half the council. Having said that, some people voted against him for non-racist reasons, just they were conservatives, or they just didn't like him personally. But he said it was a fabulous message, and it was extensively reported in the media as far as the United States. Now, there's a claim that in Thetford, this small town in Norfolk, had elected a person of African stock as mayor in 1904. I don't know the particulars of that one, but some people claim that John Archer was the first one. So it's largely forgotten for a long time. Then in 1986, a local school was named in his honor. Unfortunately, it's shut down in 91, and I think there's a John Archer house as in a council block of flats, a few other things named in his honour. There is another address in the area where he lived with a blue plaque. Obviously, this is not the original building. This is a 1950s building on the same site. All right, so that's enough about John Archer in Battersea, London. I'll switch it off. Toodaloo.